Hey there, this is your Avon lady, Chris Arnold, and I'd like to introduce you to our new Avon Magix Wand. This is the latest addition to our Magix line of makeup. Of course, we have our Magix Prime, which is our primer product that we have that also has SPF 20 in it. Then we have our Magix Tint, which is our tinted moisturizer. So this gives you a nice kind of dewy finish with really light coverage, just kind of blends out the skin tone, gives you kind of that natural nude look. And then we have now the Magix Wand, which is a stick foundation. It's a cream to powder formula, very dry formula, which I really like. And I'll tell you all the goodies in it. Don't want to forget any of them, but it visibly smooths and evens the texture, helps control oil and shine, which is a big thing for me because my skin does tend to get very shiny later in the day. It's a buildable sheer to full coverage, so you've got complete control over how much coverage you want to have, and you can have different coverage in different areas. There's even a few different uses for this that I'll tell you about. It's purse friendly, so it's great for touch-ups, or if you want to maybe go for a more natural look during the day, but you aren't going home before you go out for the evening, or you're traveling or what have you. This is great because it is a solid form. You can throw this in your bag, and it's very mess-free and convenient. It's infused with shea butter and the antioxidant vitamin E, so it provides moisturization and protection for your skin while you're wearing it as well. It is water resistant and crease proof, so it's not strictly transfer resistant, although in my experience it is a dry enough formula that I don't I'll even use it to cover the discoloration that goes down my neck because I don't have to worry about it coming off on my clothes or what have you. Because I haven't really experienced it coming off as much. And crease proof is good because you don't want it to settle and crease as you actually move your face throughout the day. And the water resistant is great too, so that it holds up a little bit better, especially if you live in a more humid climate. And it's paraben, sulfate, and phthalate free, and it comes in 16 shades. So lots of variety in the shades. We have some that have a warmer undertone, some with a cooler undertone. We've got very fair shades, darker shades, everything in between. And the really great thing about that is that in addition to being a foundation, you can also use this as your concealer, which I do. And you can also use it as your contour if you get a shade 2 shades darker than your regular foundation color, and you can use it as a highlight if you go 2 shades lighter. So it's a very, very versatile product. So this is coconut. This is my my base shade. I consider it my overall foundation shade, and I'll kind of show you how this goes on. And then I have 1 shade lighter and 1 shade darker that I use for different purposes, mostly for concealing under the eye, because I have kind of a weird situation under my eyes. I don't just have dark circles. I have darkness in the corners, but then the rest of my eye area you can see is significantly lighter than the rest of my face. So I go a shade lighter in the dark areas to to camouflage that, and then I go a shade darker to blend out the areas where my face is lighter than the rest of my face. So this is just my regular base color, and I always kind of start with that. The great thing about this is it is so buildable and blendable. I can start with my overall color, and then I only need the other colors where I actually need them, where this isn't enough to camouflage whatever it is that I'm looking to hide. I did start with our Magix Prime as a base, just because it is summer in Las Vegas, and like I said, I do have a problem with my skin getting a little oily and shiny during the day. So this helps with the matte finish to the makeup and keeping the oil and shine at bay. So this does as well. So depending on your skin and your environment, this may be enough. You may not need the prime underneath for that. It does also set me up with a nice smooth surface, so I find I actually need a little less of this because I'm not, because this also does a lot of the same things that the prime does. It does kind of smooth the texture, and it has that demi matte finish, so it helps to control the oil and shine. So you may not need both, but for me and this time of year, this is a great combination for me to do both. So I just kind of start in the middle and work my way out. And there's a few different ways you can choose to apply this. And you can see already it's kind of smoothed out and camouflaged the pores a bit, covered up some of that redness that I have in that area. So you can do, like you just saw, I just swipe it right on and blend it in. Also great to just use a finger to apply it. You can put a little on your finger, and then you maybe have, you know, a little bit more control. Your finger's a little bit smaller than the top of the stick. You could also take a foundation or a concealer brush and swipe it across the top of the stick and get your color that way. So it is a cream to powder, but it is it's not as creamy as our cream to powder foundation is. It's, like I said, it's a little bit drier. So it almost feels dry immediately upon application, and it does still blend beautifully. But just seems, you know, drier from the get-go. So, and you see, I'm going for a fairly light coverage. I'm not doing a really dark coverage, or a really, not dark coverage. That would be silly. It'd look like I had a mask on. Really heavy coverage. Just mostly, you see, I've got redness and brown, you know, discolorations. Just a lot of uneven skin tone. And so this is just I'm gonna blend it over, and it's gonna even that out for me. And it's a little worse. Always a little worse on my left side because I drive a lot. And of course, lots and lots of sun, even with sun protection. I maybe don't reapply as often as I should my sun protection when I'm out driving around a lot. That's another reason for using the Prime, is that the Prime does have SPF in it. And every extra little bit of sun protection I can get doesn't really increase my sun protection factor much from what I get with just my skincare. But what it does is, a lot of times when we're talking about our skincare, we're not necessarily applying, and you can see how it kind of, going back to the Magix Wand here, just kind of blends out and softens the look of those heavier lines that I have in my forehead, which, you know, is great, because anything that can make it look like I'm not frowning all the time would be awesome. Doesn't completely blend out this this deeper line, but that is a very deeply ingrained line. I shudder to think of how bad it would be if I didn't use all of the great Avon skincare that helps keep it, like, it hasn't gotten any worse in the last 10 years or so. I'm noticing in the corner my dark circles are not really bad, so I'm mostly just going to go with the slightly darker shade to even out this area where it's lighter. And some of this is because I do wear glasses, and my glasses have a UV filter in them. This area just does not get as much sun damage as the rest of my face, and that's why this area around my eyes is so much lighter than the rest of my face. But you see that I put a little bit darker shade in, and that blends it out a little bit better, makes it a little more even, a little closer to that flawless look that a lot of us are going for. Although, you know, I still want to look like you know, real. You know, I am in my mid-40s, so I don't necessarily want to look like I'm 20, because there's, you know, a certain amount of the way that people treat you by how old you look. So, you know, do want to at least look like I have enough experience and wisdom to know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so that's how that goes on. And what I was saying about the SPF, about having an extra product, is a lot of times when we put on our SPF product, we don't necessarily, on our faces, we're going more for how it feels, not necessarily the amount that we need to get the full protection of the SPF in that product. So we may be applying an SPF 25 product, but we may not be using enough to get the full 25 protection. So having an additional SPF product just means there's that much more SPF on my skin. It's, again, not a higher protection factor, but it's more likely that I have a nice even coating of SPF that's going to help. And then Marshmallow is a one shade lighter than my coconut that I use all over. And like I said, just looking to kind of even out. And of course my neck is a little bit lighter than my face, so I go that lighter shade. And again, not completely covering, but just blending it out, camouflaging it a bit, making it less noticeable. I have a little bit less of a discoloration on this side, again, because of the sun damage sustained while driving. But yeah, that is the Magix Wand. Again, it's a demi matte finish, so it's a very dry feel. It doesn't feel, it's pretty lightweight, so it doesn't really feel like there's anything there. I mean, I can tell it's not bare skin, but it's got a nice dry feel to it. It doesn't feel like, if I start rubbing on it, that it's going to come off, which is hard to demonstrate since I have it all over my hands already. But it's, part of our Magix line, and really, really like it. I really like the ease of use. Having the options of I can use a foundation brush if I want, or even like a beauty blender type sponge. Mine is actually kind of wedged in here because I haven't used it in a while. Having, different options in how you want to apply it, but I really like being able to just swipe it on and blend it in and be done with it. So obviously, normally that goes much faster. When I'm talking, that slows me down a little bit. Definitely check it out. Comes out in campaign 20 of 2019. So if you're seeing this anytime after that, it is readily available on my online store. And the link will be up at the end of the video there. And hope you're all having a wonderful day, and I will see you again soon.